The UK elections. In an expected election result, the Labour Party has made its comeback in the United Kingdom after winning a landslide victory in the UK general elections. The Labour Party has won 326 seats that were required. Rishi Sunak has conceded defeat and congratulated the Labour Party for its win. The Labour Party is expected to win a total of 410 seats in the 650-seat House of Commons. The Tories are expected to win 131 seats, meanwhile, a historic low for the Conservatives. This means Rishi Sunak is no longer Prime Minister. The new Prime Minister of the UK is Keir Starmer, leader of the victorious Labour Party, ending the 14-year rule of the right-wing government under the Conservatives in the UK. Keir, a former chief prosecutor and human rights lawyer, has promised his party will bring change and deliver to the people of the UK. In another boost to centrist parties, the Liberal Democrats have secured 61 seats so far, becoming the third largest party, replacing the SNP that has managed to secure only 10 seats so far. Let's quickly first listen into what Rishi Sunak said early this morning.
The Labour Party has won this general election, and I have called Sir Keir Starmer to congratulate him on his victory. Today, power will change hands in a peaceful and orderly manner, with goodwill on all sides. That is something that should give us all confidence in our country's stability and future. The British people have delivered a sobering verdict tonight. There is much to learn and reflect on, and I take responsibility for the loss. To the many good, hard-working Conservative candidates who lost tonight, despite their tireless efforts, their local records of delivery, and their dedication to their communities, I am sorry. I will now head down to London, where I will say more about tonight's result before I leave the job of Prime Minister, to which I have given my all. I will then return here, to my family's home, and I look forward to spending more time with you all in the weeks, months, and years ahead. Thank you.
So there you heard it. That was Rishi Sunak, who has now conceded. But who really is the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom now becomes the big question. It is a man called Keir Starmer, the next Prime Minister of the UK. He began his political career in 2015 when he was elected from Holborn and St Pancras in North London. In 2019, 4 years later, he took over the leadership of the Labour Party after its defeat under Jeremy Corbyn. Keir Starmer promised a new era for the Labour Party in his victory speech of April 2020 when he was elected the leader of the Labour Party. 4 years later, the Labour Party is back in power under his leadership. He is relatively new to politics, but he began his professional career as a barrister in the 1990s and was appointed Director of Public Prosecution, the senior-most criminal prosecutor in England and Wales in 2008. He often calls himself just a working man. Let's quickly listen in to what Keir Starmer, the new Prime Minister of the UK, has had to say on the historic win for the Labour Party as well. Listen in.
We did it! You campaigned for it, you fought for it, you voted for it, and now it has arrived. Change begins now. Honest. 4.5 years of work changing the party. This is what it is for. A changed Labour Party, ready to serve our country, ready to restore Britain to the service of working people.
All right, so there you heard it. I have with me on the broadcast Professor Madhav Nalapat, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian. We also have with us Sharath Kohli, Senior Economist. Let me begin with Professor Madhav Nalapat. Professor Nalapat, how do you view the election results in the UK. Yes, the Conservative Party was in fact slated for this defeat. It was predicted in the exit polls as well. But Rishi Sunak did express some sort of confidence up until yesterday evening itself, when he said that several thousands of people have not yet made up their minds in the UK and they could really hold the key. Of course, now the results are out and the minds are made up. But what do you think Professor Nalapat really worked out in the favour of the Labour Party? Was it simply an anti-incumbency factor after 14 years of the Tories' rule?
Well, I'd like to say that the Labour Party, if you exclude what the gains in Scotland, they have hardly gained any vote at all, frankly, from the traditional Labour vote. So it is basically a defeat for the Conservative Party. And they have gone to a historic low. Never before have they reached this low level. I mean, below three figures in a UK election. Never before in their history. And I think Rishi Sunak, well, he'll have to take the blame for it. I personally don't believe he has much of a future in British politics. So there's no question about that. This is an election that the Conservative Party lost after 15 years in power. And I think part of the reason is, of course, infighting. Boris Johnson was very reluctant to quit. He was finally forced to quit, and he has been sniping at Sunak for quite some time. So the second thing is that, frankly, people had had enough. They had had enough. And Sunak, for a very long time, he continued a policy of austerity and other things. And people in the UK had had enough of that austerity, and they wanted change. It's like in 1945. Where Winston Churchill was defeated and the Labour Party came to power. So this is basically a reaction to the Conservatives. I think the perception was that the Conservatives don't have, enough heart, that people who are really suffering, especially since COVID, they are not going to get any much kind of benefit from the Conservative Party, and Labour would be a better bet. Whether that's true or not, we'll find out. But it's interesting to note that the Liberal Democrats gained 58 seats.
Yes.
I think almost all of them would have been at the expense of the Conservative Party.
Professor Nalapat, at the same time, do you think that it's interesting in a way that the UK has perhaps voted quite differently compared to the rest of Europe, where we see a lot of the right-wing parties already in power or coming to power slowly, especially also in neighbouring France, which is expected to, the results will be out very soon of the snap elections that were held there as well. How do you view this change as far as the voting patterns in the UK are concerned?
Well, I'd like to say that you're quite right about the UK. There is a definite swing to the left. And the fact is that the Conservatives didn't have very much of a competition where the right is concerned. Now, you had Nigel Farage, but Nigel Farage was not taken very seriously by the voter. So essentially, they were a very lonely party on the right fringe. There was no real right fringe party that was acceptable to the British people. So from that point of view, this is a vote against the Conservative Party. I don't think it's a vote for Labour. It's a vote against the Conservative Party, and Labour is going to have a pretty tough time. For one thing, Jeremy Corbyn has got elected as an independent. A lot of people have got elected. He's not the only person who's got elected as an independent. Corbyn is going to keep sniping at this government. And Keir Starmer basically wanted to ensure that the entire Corbynite influence of the Labour Party was removed. That's easier said than done. Corbynites are everywhere in the Labour Party, everywhere. And it's going to be very difficult to remove them. So frankly, they're going to face pressures on immigration. They're going to face pressures on the National Health Service. And they're going to come face to face with the issue of how do you fund all that. So once you're in government, look, when you're in the opposition, you can promise anything. Like in our case, the opposition promised a government job to every youth and various other SOPs. The Karnataka government promised that. But, before it got elected. Once it got elected, of course, it couldn't keep any of those promises. So the point is that Labour is going to be tested because the reality is that the UK economy is not in great shape and investment is going to be even less forthcoming now that you have a Labour government. Frankly, I think you're going to have a large number of individuals who are going to leave the UK for other countries. And investment, well, I don't think you're going to get much investment in the UK because it's no longer seen as an investment-friendly destination.
Okay, before I bring in Sharad Kohli, Professor Alapat, one last question to you, sir. I just want to understand from you your perspective on what this could possibly mean then for India-UK relations and also the FTA that hangs in the balance for quite some time now.
Look, I'd like to say that India-UK relations, you may have on the surface some friction. There's no question about it. You'll have the Corbynites, sniping at India. They have very strong lobby against India in the Labour Party. But overall, the point is the security matrix. And in the security matrix, frankly, you can't do without India, where the Indo-Pacific is concerned. And you can't have a policy that is too close to China. In fact, Conservatives suffered very badly because David Cameron has been seen as very close to China, and he became Foreign Secretary. So a soft line on China is not something that the British people are really going to accept very quickly. And the second thing is, I think it's very likely that you'll have the right wing coming to power, the US. If that happens, the Ukraine war is going to wind down very quickly. Same thing with France. Macron was on steroids where the Ukraine war was concerned. The voters taught him a lesson. Scholz is becoming unpopular. This government also supported the Ukraine war. Of course, Labour has not basically opposed the war, but every government that has basically poured money into the Ukraine conflict is suffering the anger of the voter. So, quite frankly, I don't see that basically because of the security relationship, I don't see any kind of a severe damage to India-UK relations. The atmospherics will be a little more tense, if I may say so, but I don't see severe damage. And frankly, as far as Rishi Sunak is concerned, well, he was a hard bargainer on the FTA.
Right.
Just because he was of Indian origin, I don't think he gave any concessions to India, which is why the FTA is still going on. And I don't think it's going to be easy to sign it because Keir Starmer would like to protect as many British workers as possible, which basically means, that their goods will flood India and our goods will be limited. The Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, and his government are not going to agree to that. So I think the FTA has been made more difficult.
Right, absolutely. Professor Manav Narappa, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. With that, I bring in Sharad Kohli as well into the conversation. Sharad, how do you view the result that has now come out? And at the same time, do you also feel that this is a vote against the Conservatives and not perhaps really a vote in favour of the Tories, which in favour of the Labour Party, which in all likelihood just means that there was a major anti-incumbency factor after 14 years of rule?
Indeed, Devika, there was a major anti-incumbency for the last 14, 15 years. We've seen, I think the whole story started from Brexit. If you ask me, if you go to the origin of this downfall of Conservatives, I think it starts from Brexit, and which was considered to be very revolutionary for United Kingdom. Ultimately, as we look back at the Brexit decision, I think it was a wrong decision, if you agree, because so many businesses, they moved out of United Kingdom, which has led to an economic disaster there. If you look at the economy of UK, India overtook UK just because India is growing very robustly. But it was also one of the reasons was that UK had stopped growing at all. In fact, UK was in recession for a major part of these last 14 years, on and off. Unemployment is rampant. Small businesses have closed down. Investments have been moving away from United Kingdom. Property or real estate, which used to be forte of United Kingdom, is no more the forte. I mean, people don't fancy having a house or probably having a villa out there in London. It's no more a fancy. It used to be. I mean, the world was charmed towards that particular land, which is not the case anymore, I think. And then, of course, the geopolitics has played a major role, because constant threat of Russia to the United Kingdom, NATO, of course, but United Kingdom being in the forefront of the threats being given by Russia, has also been one of the reasons for flight of capital from UK, because it is not considered as a safe haven per se. Per capita income has gone down. The number of new businesses being set up in the UK have gone down. People who were working there as immigrants, a lot of them have gone back to their respective countries. Visa provisions have become more difficult for immigrants. For students, the place has become expensive. Inflation has been hitting UK for a major part of this period. Again, I mean, shoplifting had started. Overall, law and order in UK is not that good as of now. You're not very safe when you're moving at night in the London tube or whatever. So I think overall it's been a recipe of disaster as far as Conservatives were concerned. I think this was always seen coming. You're right. This is a change because people want to try something else, and Keir Starmer has been in the waiting for a very long time. So they want to see how he's able to shape up the country. But I have a feeling, with no ill wills for the Labour Party, I have a feeling that to a certain extent, Devika, United Kingdom has gone to a point of no return. I think from here, it'll be very difficult for UK to go back to its position, which it was pre-Brexit. So I think there may be a little bit of difference here and there, but I really pity the people of United Kingdom. I don't think they are going to see those achhe din, in the days to come. I think many of the economic parameters, Devika, unfortunately have gone to a point of no return. International trade, free trade agreements with various countries, international relations with various countries. I don't think UK enjoys the same privilege as it used to when 70 nations were ruled by the colonial era, and they said the sun never sets for United Kingdom. I think those days are gone, although they seemingly live in that colonial past, but their days are over now. That's what I feel, Devika.
And Sharad, in your opinion and analysis, what really does this mean for UK-India relations?
I think with the Labour being there, I don't see anything very, very exciting. But the only advantage is that India right now is in a position where no major nation can ignore India. India is an emerging economic superpower. And I really don't think a country like UK, or any country for that matter across the world, so-called developed world, as they say now, I don't think they can ignore India, because India is the food basket of the world. India is one of the biggest source suppliers to the world. In fact, a lot of talent in the United Kingdom comes from India. Either it is migrated from India or they are of Indian origin. I mean, so happened with the recent Prime Minister, the outgoing Prime Minister. So I think India is indispensable for UK. And the situation has changed so much, Devika, over the last few years, that India needed United Kingdom. It is now the other way now. United Kingdom needs India more than India needs United Kingdom. So I think even if Labour Party is not very democratic countries or pro-India, they will have Hobson's choice. It will have to maintain relations with India. As far as FTA is concerned, I think FTA is an economic compulsion as far as UK is concerned. If they don't get into this FTA, they are bigger losers than India. So I think even Labour Party will be up for doing an FTA with India. India is indispensable, is what I would like to say to your answer directly.